I'm going to start it. I'm going to see if anything's coming out, and then I'm going to shut it down and install the reservoir. Alright, what's up everybody? Today we're going to be working on a 2015 Honda Pilot with a 3.5, and we're going to be working on the power steering pump. We're going to be replacing it today. So let's get into it. The first thing you want to do is you're going to be taking off these little screws, if you will, plastic screws. There's two of them, one in each corner, to get the engine cover off. You just take a flathead screwdriver and you twist them just a little bit. They don't take much force, just about a quarter turn, and should pop right off, just like that. Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll get this off to the side. The next thing you want to do is you're going to want to have to get a couple of either hose clamps, hose pliers, whatever. They look like this, right? There's a couple different styles you can get. They make plastic ones, but nevertheless, you know, they all do the same thing. You're going to want to pinch off your hoses. You're going to lose a little bit of fluid, of course. You know, another option is if you got a siphon or a turkey baster, you can suck what's out of the power steering reservoir. So yeah, sorry, I just got tied up looking at something here. The customer's low on fluid. The complaint is the power steering pump is noisy. But you know, low fluid will do that as well. So my concern now though is either a leak or the pump being noisy because of low fluid. So I will talk to the customer and see if they want to replace the pump anyway, since we have it. And if they do, we'll go ahead and we'll replace it and go from there. Alright, so we're back, and the customer said go ahead and replace it since we have it. So we're going to continue with the video. We're going to pinch off the hose. We're going to get rid of the clamp here, down here. There's another hose on the back side down in here, and I don't know how well you can see this, so I apologize if the glare. It's pretty sunny out. So one is the pressure line, and the other one is the return line for the pump. So we're going to pinch it off and get it out of our way so we can go ahead and remove these bolts here on the top and get our pressure line out of the way. And then we're gonna take the belt off. I'll show you where the tensioner is, and then we'll go for the pump. So let's get this removed here. I have some hose pliers that are round, you know, and they're made for actually loosening the hose after the clamp is off. Sometimes they get stuck and seized onto the pipe. They're made for eliminating that. Let me go grab a rag real quick while this stuff leaks out. Okay, so we'll put a couple rags down here. We got some brake cleaning stuff that we'll clean this whole mess up. I got buckets and stuff to drain all this out. So let's grab the bucket. We can get this power steering pump off the bracket. Like so. Okay. You're gonna have to pinch the other hose off. This is not really the best of ideas, huh? That's all right. We'll figure it out. Let's put this on this side. To get at this hose. Okay. We got a clearer shot at that. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing or not. So, alright, so we're out with our reservoir, okay? I'm just going to stick this in my bucket down below. Spilled quite a bit of fluid, but that's all right. We'll wipe it all up. It's not going to be the last time. Just, you know, do whatever you can to not get any on the belt and any electrical equipment that you can possibly avoid would be for the best. So I'll clean up what I can with some brake clean once I get the belt off and out of the way. Speaking of which, that'll be our next step. So, let's see where our tensioner is. That's right there, okay. See the tensioner? I'm going to go grab a long set of wrenches and we'll be right back. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Alright, sorry about that. So I knocked the camera over and a battery fell out. So what I was saying is it's a 14 millimeter. The long reach wrenches, I bought this brand here off Amazon. So far I like them. They're fairly cheap. There's better ones out there, don't get me wrong. I really like the Ike concept, but it's pretty expensive for what I could afford at the moment. And so this brand works pretty well. But the long wrenches are great for tensioners and stuff like that. And these are pretty thin profile, so they get in there in the tight spots pretty well. Alright, so what I did was I just took the belt, you can see here, and again I apologize for any glare with the sun behind me. It's just the location where we're at, and I don't know what you can see and what you can't see. But so the belt here, I just got ran through a bungee, and you can find anywhere on the car, on any car you're working on, to kind of tie it off and get it out of the way. And this way it tends to stay on all the other pulleys like you want it to. And I just got a pair of pliers pinching off the hood latch so the bungees don't slip off it. All right, but there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Just get creative with what you're doing, and you know, you can make a lot of things very easy on yourself. All right, so next step, we got the belt off. Let's go after our top 2 bolts here and get our hose out of the way. And those look like 10mm. Let's see if we're right. And we are. Up out of the way, we're going to get some spillage here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some diapers here to kind of try and catch what I can. Let's just lay that off to the side like that. Might need another rope or bungee or something, and she's going to want to kick back at us. Okay, now to go after the bolts. Some of these Hondas have only 2 bolts. I see 1, 2. Hey, what's going to make our life easy if I can get it is trying to get that nut off right here and get the pulley off. Yeah, see, I'm only seeing 2 bolts on this one. Let me grab the old pump, or the new pump, and see how many bolts are on it. Okay, so we look at this pump. See that one? There should be one dead center at the bottom. Let's see if I can see it. Yeah, I'm not seeing a 3rd bolt. And the issue, and the reason that it matters, is because they made an upgrade, and this older style only has 2 bolts, and the new one has 3 bolts. So once you take this off, there's a bracket you got to change, and that can be a bit of a pain in the ass. So let's see if we can yank this pump out of the way. The problem is I'm going to have to see if they have that bracket. Otherwise the customer is going to be down his car, which I'm pretty sure he can't afford, so we might be putting this old one right back in. Okay, those look like 13s. Bigger. We're gonna have to probably put a wrench on that one. I'm not gonna spend too much time fighting here. get this one. See if we can get this started. Okay, let's try our 12mm long handle. Definitely 12. Let me grab my 1/4 inch. Let's see if I can get this guy in here. I got a couple tricks up my sleeve. We're gonna get it with something. Alright, there we go. See if, since we got it broke free, if we can sneak it out. Okay, we can. Okay, there must still be one bolt at the bottom. Might have to loosen this bracket and see if I can get any kind of clearance in here. Let's see what that gives us, if anything. Yeah, I might be able to get a wrench down in there. Us a little bit of room. Let's see if we can get this wheel off. Okay, let's see what size we got here. Okay, it's not 17. Let's try the good old 18. This is nice oddball size. 18's a little big, and 20, 18 is a little small, and 19's a little big. I think I got it broke free. Yeah, I did, but it's still not the right size. So once we have this off, we're gonna have to figure it out. Now the pulley itself is on a spline. It shouldn't matter. It's not like marked or oriented in any kind of certain way. Just slide forward and come off. Okay, now I can see that last bolt. So nice day out today, I'll tell you that. Let's see the best way to get down and in here. It's the craziest thing, man. Of all the tools I got, all the tools I will get, you seem to think you got everything, and you got to have something that's going to work. But it's not always the case. And even if it is, sometimes you wind up taking your entire toolbox out to find something that does work. But anyway, okay, so we got the pump out. It does have 3 bolts, which is good because we'll be able to install the new pump. Okay, here's the old pump. We're going to clean up the little bit of mess we made and put this in a bucket, and then we'll prep the new pump. I apologize, guys. I really don't have any idea what you can see and what you can't see. When I'm looking through the camera, it's tough for me to see. You know, it's pointed in the right area, that's for sure, but it looks kind of difficult. Excuse me. It looks kind of difficult to see through the shadows and everything, so I got a feeling that you guys are going to experience some of that too, and you just have to take my word for it. I did forget to try and pump out the rest of what was in the rack with the old pump, but I can do that with the new pump. It's just, you know, I wish I would have thought about it. Excuse me. I wish I would have thought about it again. I know I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I wish I would have thought about it before I got so involved with getting the pump out and making sure we had a 3rd bolt. So I'm going to show you real quick too while we're on the topic of the 3rd bolt, but I just want to finish my previous thought. So when you got your old pump, instead of disconnecting the hose that I pinched off at the pump, disconnect it from the reservoir, and what you can do is you can get another length of hose, or if you can find a way down in, you know, down in through here to route it to the bottom, you get a pan underneath it. You start the car and let the car run just a little bit until all the fluid comes out. This is why I prefer to do it with an old pump, because you shouldn't run pumps dry. That'll make them go bad if you do it for an extended period. And if you're changing out your old pump anyway, who cares if it goes bad? You got a new one. So I'm going to wind up doing that process with the new pump, but I recommend doing it with the old pump. I just wasn't thinking. I'm losing my train of thought a lot here today. I apologize. But all right, so let's get to so the bracket. Once again, I'm sorry if you can't see it. Get a good that looks like it's a decent focus. All right, so you have one bolt hole here, you have one bolt hole here, and your last bolt hole is right here for the power steering pump. Okay, this is the newer style. The older style does not have this bolt. It only has this one here and this far one. So this lower bolt and upper bolt, it's a bracket, and it's held on by this bolt right here. The problem is, the easiest way to get at it and get it out is there's also another bolt in the top here. You can't really see it. So the easiest way to get it out is you have to get this wiring harness out, which is held on right here by that bolt there. You have to remove that and remove this bracket here with these two bolts, and it'll free it up. You may have to, and it's a lot easier to get in there, but it's harder because you have to look for more parts. At least I would. And remove this. This is your intake like runner manifold. It's variable vanes, I guess you can call it. This is the actuator for it. So you can take these two bolts out, you can remove the actuator, and it'll give you better access to everything that's down here. The problem is there's O-rings and stuff that go in there, and if you can't find them, you know, I'm not a big fan of reusing O-rings or anything like that. If they're okay, fine, you know, but you're taking a chance, and if it's something that's harder to get to than this, I don't like taking chances. I do not want to have to be the guy to come back and redo a job because I tried to reuse an old gasket and cut corners or save time. So if you know you're going to get into this job, if you think that you are going to have to take this out, get a mirror. You know, I don't have one, mine broke, which is why I took the wheel off, but get a mirror and look behind the pulley of the power steering pump and see if your third bolt is there. That'll give you a good idea on whether or not you want to look into that gasket or O-ring before you start the job. But anyway, that's just a little side note, so I apologize for the delay. So let's prep the new one and get it ready to install, and we'll come back when we do. Okay. All right, so we're back. We got the torque specs. So on the mounting bolts, the 3 bolts, they're 16 foot-pounds. On the top 2 bolts on this hose here, they're 10 foot-pounds. So I'm going to get the pump installed real quick. Then I'm going to go get a pick. We're going to swap out the O-ring that's in here, and then we'll go from there once we get the pump installed. So here's the new pump. Okay, we can start with probably an easier bolt to get in, right? Would make sense. They are all the same length. That's something you want to be mindful of on, you know, no matter what you're working on. When you got to take out a bunch of bolts out of something, you know, pump like this, timing cover, whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. Make sure they're all the same. Don't take it for granted that just because they all came out of the same component that they're all the same. Okay, let's put it in real quick. Just gonna touch them up. Get underneath and get the bolt that I dropped. Okay, got the bolt. Cleaning off with some brake cleaner. Tell you what, I'm sure that shit is horrible. Like every other chemical, I'm sure it's terrible for you. But I love brake clean. I'm also a huge fan of Kroil as a penetrant and everything. So like I was telling you guys in the past, my full-time job is a millwright. Okay, I'm a union millwright. I've been trying to transition from that to doing this full-time, and you know, it's been proven difficult. It's hard to get clients when the millwrights is a very demanding job. It's a lot of, you know, 7 days a week potentially, and 12 hours a day. Seven days a week, 12 hours a day, because we work at power plants, and we're basically industrial mechanics. And you know, when these machines go down, especially power plants, they lose big money. Everybody wants their power, and these companies, you know, they don't want their $1 million equipment being down for that long. So we work around the clock. Usually, like I said, 2 crews, about 12 hours a day. So the issue becomes, it's very hard to get clients. It's very hard to get jobs. When, you know, if anybody calls, you have to turn them down because you're working that many hours. It's not really a good business model. So I've been trying to find a way to make all this stuff work, and so far it has not been working in my favor. With that being said, that's what gave me a lot of my mechanical knowledge, was working in that trade. And it's helped me with a lot of things, like knowing how to set a torque wrench, you know, learning. We do star patterns and all different kinds of patterns that work on gaskets and flanges. So it's really sharpened my mechanical skills in terms of working on cars. But I just get more enjoyment out of this. You know, I really like working on cars. I wish I was doing more business and I could make more videos for you guys, and actually enjoy going to work every single day. But you know, it's proven to be tough. So for now, I'm going to keep them coming as long as I can. I appreciate you guys watching, and you know, that's it. Just keep watching, subscribing, tell your friends. If anybody is in the central New Jersey area and you need a mechanic, look me up. I'm all over Google and Facebook and YouTube at CNR Diagnostics. And check out my website, www.cnrdiagnostics.com. And if anybody's in the area, you know, look us up and book an appointment. So, all right, back to the work. Sorry for the rant, guys. So back to the work. We got the power steering pump is in. It's torqued at 16 foot-pounds. These 2 bolts that go on the top are going to be 10 foot-pounds. Sorry, 8 foot-pounds. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to go get a pick. We're going to get this old O-ring off of here, and I'm going to get a new one put on. Okay, we're back with our pick, and we got our new O-rings. So let's pop this old one off. A couple of things you want to look for when you're replacing O-rings is, this one's not too bad. So a couple things you want to look for is, number one, is it's still elastic. You know, does it still feel soft enough and malleable, I think is the right word, where You know, you can move it, or does it feel brittle, like it's going to crack when you touch it? That's number one. Number two is any nicks or gouges or scratches. You probably don't want to reuse it. And number three, and the reason I'm doing this one, is because you also want to look at the outside, the outer diameter of O-rings. They should be round. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but once you use them, you know, and they're installed for so long, they tend to get flat on the outside edge all the way around. And that flatness is no good. It usually means that when you put the O-ring back in, it's already been compressed as much as it's going to, and chances are that that's a pretty decent indication that it's going to leak. So we got two O-rings here, one larger, one smaller. I believe we're going to go with the larger one. Let's check it out and see what we got. Compare it to the old one. It looks about right. Let's check the this one's a new one. Yeah, no question. Okay. So here's our old one, here's our new one. So we're gonna slip the new one on, make sure there's no garbage or anything around here. And one thing it's a good idea to do, you have a little fluid for whatever O-ring you're replacing. If you're working on an AC system, if you're working on an oil system, anything along those lines. See, that does not look good. It got rolled, it looks like. Let's try with a pick. See if we have any other luck. Okay, that looks much better. So back to what I was saying, whatever system you're working on, excuse me, that you're replacing O-rings on, lube up the O-ring with a little bit of whatever it is, in this case, you know, new power steering fluid. If you're working on an AC system, with a little bit of refrigerant oil. If you're working on something that's in a regular oil system, regular clean oil, you know. It's important. It helps everything seat properly, and you have less chance of rolling or pinching your O-ring when you install it. So we're going to get some new power steering fluid, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we're back. We got a little bit of clean power steering fluid. Swipe it around and get it on the O-ring just like that. Make sure everything is clean. Get rid of that. Let's wipe our hands. And let's gently work that down into place. Okay, just like that. Now, if for some reason, you know, it does still leak, obviously you're not going to find out until the whole job's pretty much done, and you're running. But if it does leak, you know, not that big a deal on something like this. You have to pull these two bolts out and get a new O-ring and replace it and try again, you know. But the lubrication of the power steering fluid really helps. So I don't know if you saw what I did there. As you were putting a little pressure downward, just kind of wiggle it back and forth and help the O-ring get seated. You don't want to force it, and you don't want a chance of getting cocked as you're going in there, because it'll definitely roll the O-ring over and pinch it. Alright, so these, we're going to reset our torque wrench. We're going to go to 8 foot-pounds, which this torque wrench is in inch-pounds. So if you're not familiar with how to set torque wrenches, most bigger torque wrenches are all in foot-pounds. In order to get your inch-pounds, just multiply your foot-pounds by 12. So 8 foot-pounds is 96 inch-pounds. So it's rather simple. And if you're not familiar with how to set a torque wrench at all, let me know and I'll make a quick video, short quick video on how to do that. That is also not hard. And I always try to go up evenly on bolts. You don't want to put, especially if it's a lot of torque, you don't want to put all the torque on one bolt. Some procedures even call for that, like head gasket bolts and intake manifold bolts. They tell you to do the torque in steps. But, just once you get used to doing it, I think it kind of just becomes second nature at that point to always do it. So at least that's what I got into anyway. So now it's time to put the power steering pulley back on. All right, they do make a holder that will fit in all these grooves here. I kind of improvised and I'm using a oil filter ratchet, or wrench rather. And I was able to get it in between two of the spokes here. And normally it's a good way to break pulleys and everything, but that's exactly what the tool does anyway. But we're not going to really high torque here anyway. This is only I'm double checking, but it's either 43 or 47 foot-pounds. I think 47. Yep, okay, 47 foot-pounds. So like I said, this thing is not orientated in one way or the other. Okay, that's all the way on and seated. Take our nut, we'll put it on. Okay, now, so this is only inch-pounds. It only goes up to about, I want to say 18 foot-pounds maybe. So I have a bigger one. And this is the one we're going to use for 47 foot-pounds. Size was our, it was 18, I believe, right? Yeah, like I said, you got to try all different kinds of setups. I got adapters from, this is a 3/8 drive torque wrench to half-inch socket. For two reasons. Number one, it can help me with my length, which I think this is actually going to work out pretty good. see what happens here. Let's see, what can I do here? I got an idea. Get a flathead screwdriver. Actually worked rather well. Alright, so I just stuck a flathead screwdriver through one of the openings in the back side behind this. Again, don't know if you saw it, but if you use a flathead screwdriver, you'll see the spot. You just stick it right back through here and it'll bite on the pump itself. I wouldn't do that if it was like, you know, 100 foot-pounds, 150 foot-pounds. You might chance cracking something or breaking a line. But 47 foot-pounds really isn't much. So we're all good now. All that's left to do is hook up our hose on this side, put our belt back on, then we're gonna run the vehicle just a little bit. We're gonna get the rest of the fluid out, and then we'll refill and we'll start bleeding. Okay. So, that cap is off. Let's grab our hose. Okay, let's get the belt slid back on. Dropped you again. I'm not really good at this camera thing, in case you couldn't tell. But, so, let's get this belt back on real quick. Okay. Always double check, even though you do that little trick. That saves yourself from falling off all of the pulleys. You just want to double check yourself and make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. You don't want to start this thing up and have a belt come flying off, or even worse, when you're, after you give the car back to the customer and they're driving around and the car all of a sudden, you know, craps out on them. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to see if I can't get another piece of hose or something to run all of this extra fluid into. Let's see if I have a longer length of hose that'll fit on it. Okay, so we're back. You can see what I got rigged up here. I just got the return hose going down into the funnel, which is going underneath the car and into a pan. So I'm just going to run the car real quick. I'm going to start it. Hopefully you don't fall over. This thing's not very stable. I'm going to start it. I'm going to see if anything's coming out, and then I'm going to shut it down and install the reservoir. Yeah, that was a bust. Alright, so let's try that again. I made a mistake. I forgot all about that line. I don't know why I thought this one was the return. But it's not. So we had a little mess I had to clean up. When I turned the key on, I noticed that it was coming out of the hose I forgot, which is back in here. So now I got it hooked up the right way. And hopefully it won't make a mess again. I couldn't find any hoses that would adapt to the old hose. I just put the funnel here going into the hose that I had up from the bottom, and it's just still down here going into that pan. So we're gonna try it one more time. We're gonna see what happens. Hopefully I don't make another mess that I have to clean up. And power steering fluid is a lot like brake fluid, you know. If it gets on anything, don't excuse me, jeez, don't waste time getting it wiped up. It's not good for for all the other components, the paint, all that other stuff. So all the wet stuff that you see that I'm wiping up now is just I sprayed brake clean and denatured alcohol on everything. So everything's cleaned up. We're going to try it one more time, and we're going to see if anything else comes out. We look like we're good. Now that that's finished, we can get back with the rest of the job. Alright, so let's get rid of these hoses and these funnels. Okay, we're back. So I cleaned the reservoir out as best I could with denatured alcohol, and I blew it out with air so that there's no more traces of the chemical left over. So let's go ahead and hook this return line back up. Okay, so we got our bolts back in, this one and the one down below down here. We got our hoses reconnected. We got our fluid topped off, and now we're going to start it, and we're going to try to bleed it a little bit. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so I'll take you over here and show you what we're doing. All you do to bleed your power steering is just go real slow and just turn your wheel, what they call lock to lock. Go real slow, jack your car up in the air. As soon as you hear the pump change sound, or you know you're at your lock, go back the other way and just go slow. Keep going back and forth, and that'll bleed all the air out of the system. Every now and then, just make sure you put the right amount in. We'll go out and check it again, but that's all there is to it. Just keep going back and forth. Check your fluid and make sure that you're not running low. We're a little bit high, and if you come across that same issue where you're a little bit high, you can take you know, like a turkey baster or something, and you can take the extra out of it. And that's all there is to it. I mean, it sounds good. The engine sounds good. We're just going to do that a couple more times and make sure the fluid is good and everything's working right. But you guys get the idea, and that's all there is to changing your power steering pump. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you on the next one.